All right, hey everyone. So I got chapter 2. We're talking about Switzerland in the book Geography of the Bliss by Eric Weiner. So we're gonna start off with a quote I found. Our author was sitting down in a cafe in Geneva and was talking to a man named Dieter. Here's what they had to say. Our attitude, says Dieter, taking a sip of beer, is don't shine the spotlight too brightly on yourself or you might get shot. Thought this was an interesting quote. Right towards the beginning of the chapter, Dieter is basically saying the Dutch practice of avoiding envy. Their goal is to kind of stay below the limelight. They're a peaceful society that is not looking to ruffle any feathers, is what I gathered from the quote. So here's some background info in the country. I'm gonna skip a few of them, but the main ones I wanted to hit. Their happiness ranking is a 7.06. They're 10th out of all the countries in the world, and their human development index is 0.970 of the HPI value. They're the second in the world for that. Another one I wanted to note is that their minimum wage is not federally based. It's actually based regionally. So, for example, Geneva's wage is 24.48 in American dollars. I thought that was a pretty good idea. Might, for an American perspective, help with some of the issues we're going through right now because economies are vastly different. And say a person living in New York needs a much higher minimum wage than a person living here in Atlanta because their cost of living is higher. Let's see. Is there any more important info? Here's some interesting trivia facts about Switzerland. They're the only country with a square flag. They have no president in their political system, and they have very strict rules. Okay, so I'm gonna hit them pretty fast because we're running out of time. The happiness lesson from this place that the author gathered was their cleanliness. That every toilet's clean, every sink's clean, every pothole's filled, trash and litter is picked up. Very, very clean. Well, I've already talked about this a little bit before, but they avoid envy, so they don't want to flaunt their wealth. They would believe it's better to be a poor person than a flashy winner, as the author states. They're also aware of the highs and lows of life, and they keep a mellow state of being. They call, in the French, which I'm terrible at French, but c'est pas mal, or not bad state of mind. Living in the middle range, being boring. The Swiss have perfected being boring. Another example of what could possibly make them so happy, even though it kind of doesn't make sense, is their lack of humor. This is kind of like, it's really hard to put into shape because we are American, but their lack of humor and laughter maybe just makes things easier. Maybe there's not as much confrontation, but it's kind of hard to put in perspective because it's coming from a Swiss native's way he felt. They're value oriented, not just by the government, but by the people themselves. The author calls them super nannies. So like an unwashed car and loud neighbors, somebody's going to say something to you. There will be a note in your car the next day. There'll be a note on your door the next day. Very, very like self-policing. They're regimented and timely. They love nature. You can see that with their appreciation of the Alps, and the author mentions this could be another reason for their happiness with the biophilic response, which means that a person connected to organisms and nature could make us happier. Swiss people trust each other. Their transportation system's excellent. They have amazing chocolate, and the government is by the people where the individuals do the voting. I'll skip the places that she visited because we don't running out of time. But I thought the chapter was very riveting. It provided a well put analysis of Switzerland's happiness. Eric Weiner, he talks. He gets to interview people all over Switzerland. He travels about based on recommendations. I talked about Dieter in his interview. I thought that was the most enlightening. I would never thought avoiding envy would be the reason for their happiness, but that could be one of the main ones. Overall, I thought the chapter was interesting. We learned that Swiss happiness may not come from the places that we expected, like they embrace boredom, or perhaps what's boring to us is fulfilling to them. The approach taken by the author, narrating his own experience with the quotes of the interview's opinion, and along with his opinion, and he includes scientific studies that also persuade the reader. It was overall a very good chapter, and I gave it 10 out of 10. One thing I liked about this, I'm going way over my time, is I thought that we should take the same approach into how the Swiss appreciate nature. The author talks about this concept that the Swiss feel as they are mountaineers. And even in an urban community, they have a sense of the connection to the nature. They go to the Alps, they understand the beauty, they see the beauty, they understand their ancestors that have appreciated the Alps throughout their entire lineage. Now, I think Americans should take this the same approach. Maybe we should find our roots as frontiersmen or immigrants or adventurers. We can go hiking and run through the woods, hunt and fish, or make forts and cabins. In a time with increased technology and urbanization, Americans need to restore their connection to nature. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.